right, so I forgot if we're good. Go ahead and call to order the Montessori Peaks Academy Board of Directors meeting tonight, Tuesday, August 23rd. And I have that it's like 6:34. So we'll just start with roll call.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so Irene.
Here.
Justin Sasso present. See Adam Livingston present. And Emily, remind me how to say it. Splitek? Am I saying that correctly?
Splitek.
Splitek. I will remember this next time. Thank you.
That's okay.
Is Sarah Stevens?
Hopefully she'll join us in a couple of minutes. Adam, just go ahead and let her in when she gets here.
Great.
Great, thank you. Ashley, present. Carmen Center.
She's not able to be here tonight due to work conflict.
Brittany Horseman.
She had a double booking for board meetings and isn't feeling well, so she may join us late. We'll make note of it if and when she does. Otherwise, she gave me her proxy for votes.
Wonderful. And Becky. Here. Okay. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. So I would like to start with recognizing and reading the mission statement. It is the mission of Montessori Peaks Academy to achieve high standards of individual excellence by guiding the whole student through an exceptional learning experience based on the educational philosophy of Maria Montessori. And with that, I'm going to turn things to community comments. We have Anna, and I am going to totally mispronounce your last name, so I'm going to let you introduce yourself and go ahead with that.
That's all right. I'm quite used to it, as I'm sure you are. I am Anna McCurkiaga Hughes, and I'm here with my husband, Ivo Hughes, tonight. And we are MPA parents, and we have been at MPA for 5 years. So it's nice to see all of you. And I have a public comment that I'm going to read. So I will go ahead and do that. Thank you for the opportunity to provide a public comment during tonight's board meeting. I requested to make a public comment today on behalf of myself, my husband, and our family. As we are concerned about changes Ms. Blackburn is implementing and the impact of those changes to the teachers, staff, students, and community of MPA. Last week, Ms. Blackburn started leading the entire school in the Pledge of Allegiance every morning via the PA system. This was done with no prior notification to parents. Upon initial inquiry, Ms. Blackburn responded that many individual classrooms were doing this prior to COVID. To our knowledge, while there have been a few individual classrooms doing this in the past, it was never broadcast throughout the entire school on the PA or the phone system. Yesterday, Ms. Blackburn made the decision to move the announcements, which still include the pledge, to the afternoon. We appreciate this pivot and her attempt to find a less disruptive time and method for the classrooms. However, we still firmly believe the pledge should not be included in these announcements. Perhaps a compromise could be setting a specific place and time with a supportive teacher or assistant for those students that want to participate, or give the autonomy back to the individual classrooms. Ms. Blackburn attended the PTA call on August 9th, discussing in detail many of the changes being implemented at the school. However, during that meeting, there was no mention of broadcasting the pledge every day, nor was it communicated in any newsletter. Parents should have been informed of this policy change and afforded the opportunity to discuss the pledge, its meaning, and alignment to each individual family's values, and make the decision whether or not to participate. We are positive everyone has their own perspectives on it. Personally, we find the language of the pledge itself problematic. It specifically references God, which we do not believe is a concept that belongs in the classroom, as well as excluding other religions and non-believers. It also speaks of a nation with liberty and justice for all, when in fact there has never been a time in the history of our country that those principles have been upheld. In our lower L classroom, the class would sing the song, "Light a Candle for Peace," similar to other Montessori schools around the world, allowing them to share and express a unified hope for world peace, peace for themselves and each other. This peace pledge and its practice embodies more of the Montessori philosophy than the Pledge of Allegiance does. I have addressed these concerns with Ms. Blackburn via email. I have also been informed that by many other parents, that they have raised concerns directly with her or their individual teacher. Ms. Blackburn has stated among the reasons that she wanted to be at this school are the unique culture and how special the MPA teachers, staff, students, and community are. She is absolutely correct. The community and the culture that has been built over the last 25 years is very special and unique indeed, and therefore should be protected and respected. Families have chosen Montessori education, specifically MPA, for a reason. We believe that there are several changes being introduced that threaten that culture, and our family is concerned that this is the start of abandoning many of the principles of the Montessori philosophy. The implementation of the pledge is just one very visible change, especially to students. We're also concerned that there may be other less visible upcoming changes that families are unaware of. We understand that with new leadership, changes are to be expected. However, any change should be the result of curiosity and deep understanding, and implemented with communication, kindness, respect, and empathy. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to share our concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I'm gonna let you go ahead and exit the meeting and watch on YouTube, as I described to you, due to us being virtual tonight. But I do want to thank you for taking the time to join us. Okay. At this point, does anybody else have any community comments that have come their way? No? Okay. Then we are going to move on to the next agenda item, which is the principal's report.
All right, thank you. Hello, everybody. So I'll start off with some celebrations. We had 34 staff members who attended CPR first aid training in August. Our goal is to have 100% of our staff trained by next fall, so we are really well on the way. Staff members who work with upper L students attended a suicide prevention training in August called QPR. So that's also very encouraging. Our enrollment is up. Also great news. For this year, we are at 426 full-time total students, including our part-time preschoolers. And that's called QPR. Sorry?
You're fine. Just keep going.
Oh, okay. That's up from 391 from last year. The number of new families is up. We have about 60 to 65 brand new families to MPA this year. So also great news. Staff and student update. We, since the last board meeting, we have filled the position of the full-time facility manager as well as the assistant facilities manager tech. And they onboarded about a week before the start of school. So they had a lot to do to get the building and the campus ready for the first day of school. So they're working through a long list of things, and they're constantly busy. So that's really exciting to have those positions filled. Currently, we still have one full-time assistant position, which was a recent resignation, and a half-time assistant position still open. And we also have an aftercare lead position that we're still searching for. And we have the posting is on Indeed. That's been where we've gotten the most applicants from. So we're going to keep that up at least for a few more days to see if we get some more applications in. Let's see, the facility and construction pieces. The construction company finished the drainage issue problem that was right in front of the primary, and they installed a curb and then a channel drain, which is going to be a really good solution to that problem. They had to remove a gate and a post as they were pouring the sidewalk to go, and with the French drain going out to the west. And they came and reinstalled that gate. They had to wait until the concrete cured, or the cement, sorry. So that's going, there are some HVAC components that have been, are on the list to be updated. They were supposed to come in, I believe tomorrow is when they're supposed to arrive. So hopefully that's on track.
Is that left over from the HVAC issues we had last spring?
Yeah, because
Not
it's
a new issue.
right,
Okay,
correct.
checking.
Yeah. And then the shade structure, I forwarded the email. We're getting together with them on Friday to discuss so the email that they sent, or the bid that they sent, was for just adding material to the shade part itself. And they're saying that the modifying the structure, which, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, is like cutting the poles and then shortening the poles so that they're dropped lower so that they have more shade coverage. And they are estimating that that's going to be over $5,000 to do that, but they didn't give, and they just said it's going to be over 5,000. So we're going to be meeting with them to get more clarity on how much over 5,000 that is, and what is all involved in having that done. My understanding also is that when you modify the structure, it nullifies the warranty on the structure. And
I understand all the stuff about that. Do you have any questions?
The only thing I was going to ask is, will the manufacturer work with us on that? Have we pursued that option where if we have it professionally drawn up to, engineer it in a way that we're not jeopardizing the structure, can we shorten it? And I don't know if they would be willing to do that, but I feel like that's kind of our last course, would be to actually work with the manufacturer, explain our problem, and say, do you have any solutions that you would recommend that would not nullify our warranty? I don't know if that's an opportunity or something that we've already done. But.
I have not. I don't know what's been done on this, because the bid for that, the estimate for that, just came across my email last week, and I knew there's a whole, maybe somebody else has the answer to that, because I'm a little new coming into that particular issue.
It's not something that I'm aware of that we've done, Becky, but we should double check with Brittany, just to know.
I add something on that. So the other thing to consider if you're going to talk to somebody, because that yellow one is pretty much my whole view now. When it snowed, it came down in huge sheets. I wouldn't have hurt someone, but it would have drowned a little kid. Then it sat because of the way the concrete is, maybe slightly tilted, I don't know, and froze. So you got a really big issue with that coming down. Ice, once it melts, but then it freezes over. I just watched it, and I just happened to watch the whole thing come down, and something to think about. If it weren't so tall, that might shift a little bit. I don't know if it's pitched too high. Not trying to gripe too much because it is out my window, but I'm watching it and it's not doing its job. But the snow thing, I don't know if anybody had seen that, but it's interesting.
So I know the height of it is not, like, the height of it itself is not providing the shade. Is there a pitch problem too? Does anyone know if that the pitch of or the angle of the shade itself, is that also part of the problem?
Not that I was made aware of. It makes sense
Yeah.
that as he's talking about, it was probably at an angle for the snow to come off, so it wasn't holding the weight continuously. We just have to be aware of how that's draining and what it's doing, so we don't end up with a skating rink down there that becomes dangerous.
I think it was the way it fell. Instead of doing that, it kind of slid off and went kabam.
Probably because it's so high.
Is there any indication that they were incorrectly installed, or that the specifications were not followed when they were initially installed?
Somewhere deep in the contract, it did have the height, and it got, as far as I know, missed when it was all being double checked before.
So it's
contract
higher than
high.
it should have been.
It's higher than it needs in order to do what it's supposed to do, but in the specifications, as far as I understand, we can double check with Brittany. In the contract, it did have the height, and it went through. The contract went through.
It went over the height that was in the contract.
No.
you're saying.
The height
Oh,
of the
okay.
contract is more than we needed, but that's,
Oh, I see.
they went.
Okay.
They built it to the contract specifications, but those specs were too high, is what
Yes,
I'm
thank you.
understanding. Okay.
I see. Okay.
No, I was clarifying for myself. That's okay.
If they had made the mistake of installation or manufacturing not what we had contracted, then it would have gotten fixed.
Right. It does seem like a safety issue with that much snow falling off at once too. So thanks, Ashley, for raising that.
I mean, that begs the question, not that I want to get us involved in this, but should they just be removed? Because at any height, it's going to dump snow. It's going to catch it and dump it. It's just a shorter fall.
I think we should pursue what Becky brought up and see what happens.
And if anyone wants to come to that meeting, you are more than welcome to come.
What time is that on Friday?
Um,
I'm not promising to be there. I'm just.
I might have to change screens here and look at my calendar, but I believe it's 1 or 1:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. If you want to shoot me an email, I can send it out to everybody just in case.
Okay.
I'd be happy to attend with you, Anne.
I would love that. I welcome that, absolutely, because this is like way before me and I don't know the history, and I think coming into this, I'm a little surprised that the owner's rep or the architect didn't catch that, but that's neither here nor there. So let's see. Okay, shade structure. There is also got an invite to review the design development documents, and for the north building for tomorrow. So if anyone wants to come to that, it's like going to be by video. It's really basically what we looked at in July, or I think it was the July meeting when we saw that. Let's see, at the last meeting, we talked about the newsletter, so community update. We are looking at some different formats for the newsletter. Currently, it goes out in Messenger in 2 ways. It goes out as an email and it goes out as a PDF. And then it's also available on our website as a PDF.
I couldn't find it on the website today, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Okay. We're looking in to see whether if Messenger will support a different template other than what is available through Messenger. So whether we could import, the newsletter template that I spoke about that's called S'more. I know it's used a lot by various schools. And Veronica is looking into that because we're not sure that it'll communicate well with Infinite Campus. So.
And this is Justin. Just a quick question: Is Messenger? And I'm sorry, I'm too Apple-ified. I think of the Messenger on my phone. iMessage is so. I'm assuming Messenger is a Jeffco product or something specific to the school that we can only use. Okay.
It's through Infinite Campus.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they have their own messenger. It's called Messenger through Infinite Campus, and it's how we can email parents right away. It's whole groups. You can do different email groups and that through that. So that any other way of doing that, it would be a very lengthy process of typing up parents' emails into, say for instance, Google. So yeah, I got that through that.
Is it possible to attach a document and then send it out through that same channel so that we could maybe in a third database, or what am I trying to say, third-party software or an outside software, create a more readable newsletter and then maybe attach it and send it out? It's just that break of text, and I hear it all the time from other parents, and I know I have a hard time getting through it. I think Ashley challenged me to read it. I said I hadn't, and I was embarrassed because there was important stuff in there I needed to know.
Yeah.
But it is.
Putting a PDF on the website, can't we just send that PDF out rather than redoing things?
When you open it up, do you see it as an email or do you see the PDF through Infinite Campus?
We see this long run-on email.
The email. Okay. So Veronica said it goes out as a PDF too on Infinite Campus. I've not received things like through the parent portal like that. So I've not opened it up in that way. I've
That
just
long run-on email scroll thing I showed you on Friday, that's our newsletter.
Right. But you don't see the PDF?
That's what I see. And then sometimes there's the little attachments at the bottom with like the one before school started, I had the yearbook picture from Jen for that club. And sometimes there's a couple forms at the bottom, but that's what we get is what I showed you.
Yeah.
Mine, I'm looking at it now. I do not have a PDF attachment. It is, as you described, just run on. And sadly, a lot of the forms for the images all duck down to the bottom, at least in Gmail. So when I get it, I didn't see that map till now. Boy, I've really been messing up.
There is a link embedded in there where it says newsletter, and you can click on the link to open up the PDF.
Right. You're right.
But then it takes you to School Messenger, and it wants you to download it, and it takes a while to download it.
That's
Parents
not
aren't going to do that.
family friendly. Yeah.
It looks the same on our end too for staff.
So good to know that we're attempting to find a solution.
Yeah.
It has been a frustration for families for a while. But if you've got board members who are struggling to get through it, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Well, is there a chance we could see another Jeffco Charter Schools newsletter and possibly maybe start some reconnaissance to figure out what they're using and what we could start incorporating into ours possibly, if there's a cleaner, better one. I don't get the others obviously, but if anybody has hands-on or sees them or maybe
It might be on their websites. We just
So I know that other principals do use S'more. It's pretty common. And I know I know we can put it as a PDF onto our website, but in terms of emailing it out, I don't know if Infinite Campus will support that. So Veronica's checking into that.
Okay.
She knows a lot more about Infinite Campus than I do.
Must the newsletter come through that? Must the newsletter come through that source, that Infinite Campus?
No, not necessarily if you don't want it emailed, but that's how we email families is through Messenger on campus.
Right. I'm just wondering if we could move to constant contact light format. I'm not saying that one necessarily, but something where we kind of move that database over. And for just newsletter communications, obviously anything, you know, vital, important, or urgent would come through the Jeffco system. But for newsletters, maybe that comes out in something a little bit more friendly, user friendly. I mean, I think that's probably where a lot of the communication is getting hung up. I don't think everybody's reading through that. I mean, when I get emails from staff members like that, I tell them to come into my office and talk to me because I'm not reading that.
Yeah,
Too long,
yeah.
didn't read. Yeah,
Yeah,
TLDR.
I'm not familiar with that particular format. I know, I mean, our database of addresses is through Infinite Campus.
Yeah.
So and Infinite Campus doesn't always work well with other.
Yeah, play nice.
I'm happy to work with Veronica to try to find a solution that might work better for everybody. I do know off the top of my head of a couple solutions that may be more, at least user friendly. That I think may be feasible.
Okay, that'd be great.
Go for it.
So I'm going to jump around and then come back to the board feedback part. I think I have that in the middle here of my update. I'll just put that at the end. So we've included some other committees, parent engagement committee, a tech committee, and 25th anniversary and middle school committee. We talked at the last board meeting about the parent education monthly, adding the potluck. I'm going to bring that up to the roundtable building leadership team. We had a meeting today, but we had three other things to talk about. So I will bring that back up to them at the next meeting. And the car line issues, I've gotten some feedback from parents, quite a few emails, and car line's always rough, and it's always hardest in the beginning. Our enrollment is up, so we've got more people, we've got new families. So it's not surprising that we have more issues. So in kind of brainstorming with one of the parents who called to talk, he's been a parent for over 10 years in Carline, and we were brainstorming, and then some of the ideas, doing things to Capri Road, we won't be able to do because we don't own it and it's county property. So we can't paint it. We can't put cones out there. And so, sorry?
We can't even get a crosswalk for safety reasons.
Right.
Oh, really? They won't let that happen?
Not yet, at least.
Oh, huh. We have a school right by our house, and it has both a crosswalk and the lights. I feel like we should at least be able to get lights up that say it's a school zone.
If we get some students in that building, it'd be a time to attempt it again.
Excellent.
But right now we don't. And so we don't have as much pull, I think, to try and do that.
So one of the options and I brought it up to roundtable today at the meeting, was if we made the exit. So some of the problems are that Capri gets really backed up. People are blocking our exits, so nobody can turn left. Cars in the right lane instead of the center lane for turning. Kipling's getting really backed up. We have at least once a day, if not more, parents coming in through the exit and then getting into the parking lot there on the side, which is dangerous to enter through an exit like that. So one of the ideas was, what if we had our exit out of our parking lot be right turn only? During 30 minutes in the morning of drive line and 30 minutes in the afternoon, that every car had to turn right as they exited. And so roundtable talked about that. They were pretty favorable about giving that a try. It would mean having cones blocking that, so you couldn't make a left-hand turn, and again, another person would have to be posted there to help with traffic. So wanted to see what the board thought about that. It seems like a pretty good solution that could potentially really speed up getting cars through here faster.
You
Any
say someone else would have to be posted. Is that because we have 2 lanes, and so you would say, left lane go, right lane go? Is that kind of what we're thinking? Because you have to funnel them down into one lane.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have to stop because it could be just a constant, just go. We don't need to stop there if we're just trying to get cars out. Yeah, we would need somebody there because it's a change, and primarily because there are 2 lanes that are getting then down funneled into one to turn right, and because it's a change.
So I
Yeah.
guess my
Those
question
cones won't-
is the backup due to people getting in and out of cars, or is the backup really due to people not getting back out of the school property? Because there's
So
2 different
yesterday,
issues.
what we
Right.
saw yesterday was it got really backed up because they hadn't really formed the 2 lanes properly to exit, and the lead car was trying to turn left, but they were in the right of the 2 lanes.
Oh,
And it was backing way up. And the other thing I noticed is without somebody there, families are just going across the street because we got the sidewalk. And unfortunately, sometimes they tend to go, and let their kids go on ahead of them. Makes me really nervous. So I feel like if we have that stop, clear, you go, that kind of thing, that's a safety thing to me, not just a hang up because you're trying to turn left. So that's why we talked about, like Ann said, maybe if you make it an only right, because that got really wonky.
Yeah, people trying to turn left out of a right turn lane basically just drives me nuts.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Like,
I
that's
think
driving 101.
the concern there too is you have no control over Capri. And Brian brought this up last year and I had not seen it. And then I started to note it and I had my heart in my throat a couple times where I watched people dive in off Kipling, a left turn across Kipling, dive into the exit as cars were coming off Capri and dodge them at the last second to jump into that parking lot. And there are families crossing over by that Capri Kipling entrance. Somebody's going to get hurt. It's just a matter of time. And if we don't have any control over that entrance and what people are doing over there, you would hope that the families would have, the concern of the community in mind and not pull stunts like that. But I think you can at least slow down the traffic turning left. But you're right, you need somebody there. Otherwise, you're going to have one long line of left and right turners, and they're going to have to just enforce that it's a go right only. Maybe you can stick cones. You can't really put them into Capri because you have cars that go around the line on Capri too. People
Yeah.
getting in and out of those townhomes. So I think what you can control is the parking lot, and you'll just need to get somebody out there who, maybe with a ball peen hammer, who can remind you if you do try to make a left. So, but it's a little tight. Yeah, scary.
If the staff that's out there that sees the whole length of car line feels that it would be helpful, let's make sure we get lots of communication out to families. Let's let them know the start date for that, the times for it as well. Remind them not to come in and exit, because that just scares me every time I see it, and see what happens. But I really think we need to pick a start date with the times, have the staff on board, send it to the families, give them a heads up notice.
Have we ever approached, this is maybe too far out there, and not for the entire year, but have we ever approached having the sheriff's office help with traffic those first couple of days?
That's what I was just going to
Maybe
say.
my ask.
Yeah.
I actually reached out to them and asked them to come on the first day. I just generally do that because it's, and they generally say, yeah, we will try to make it. We will try to make it. I've not seen them yet.
I think specifically posting at the north building by the exit to deter people from, because that's the biggest risk, I think, that's off of our property that we can't control. That, I mean, to me, that is a police matter. It's not something that we can interfere with. I think anything on Capri, we really can't.
Well, and that's an illegal maneuver. You're entering an outage that is it's purposefully pitted to go right onto Kipling. You're not supposed to come in that route. So I would say that is a matter of law enforcement to control. We can't control it. But yeah, maybe if all the members of this board were to place a call to the sheriff and just ask very nicely if we could have something, some help there. It's definitely the first week is the roughest, but you'll see them out for, you'll see sheriff's offices working, large events for church gatherings and Easter or for concerts and that kind of thing. So I can't see why they wouldn't want to help out a public street where we get that backup on the first day. And that's not, and this isn't your fault. It was the same way last year and the year before. But that backup around Ace Hardware, I always manage to be on the corner and just waiting to hear the screech of brakes and the impact from behind, because it's, people are angry, they're honking because we're backing up the right lane, and it would be beneficial to have a sheriff out there doing some traffic direction.
And that first day, that first week, parents don't
Yeah.
realize that some of their kids are saying goodbye a little bit longer than you would on a normal car drop off, and that they should have chosen parking maybe. It kind of works itself out after that first week for the timing of
Right.
how quickly.
Yeah. Well, and then
do
after
that
school
drop-off.
and everything else, the after school care kicks in and you've got fewer people in line, and it starts to adjust.
I will say also in the morning, we've been working with Miss Heather on another possible solution for the morning. One of the things that happens, I come in early. I've been trying to do the stop sign lately. We're having a lot of new parents who are blocking off the entire entrance to the parking lot for the primary school. And there's a lot of, I've had several conversations with people who are unclear as to whether the morning traffic flow is supposed to be the same as it is in the afternoon, where only the people coming from the right-hand side, I guess as you're facing it, the right-hand side of Capri are supposed to go to the upper schools, and people coming off of Kipling are supposed to come into the parking lot there. And I think there's a lot of confusion around that. I was in a conversation with 5 or 6 parents as we were talking to Miss Heather this week, and everybody had a different perspective on what we're supposed to be doing. And I think that I just some clarity on that might be good. I think also it would be wonderful as we got that new sidewalk extended up further. If presumably we're going to have a crosswalk painted across that extends all the way to the edge of the property, I would guess. At the same time, if somebody could just paint in a little block that says like "Do not block" in yellow, so that cars wouldn't stop in the morning right in front of the entrance into the primary parking lot, because that's where I see the vast majority of the buildup. And it backs way up into Kipling about 10 minutes till, just because 1 or 2 people are blocking that entrance. I think as time goes on in the school year, people get more conscientious about not blocking that. But this week I've seen several people. I've tried to be a junior safety officer and move people along myself.
Are you talking about people needing to go ahead and pull in and fill in that drop-off circle?
No, not necessarily. So further back, when people pull in and they're backed way up, the first thing in the morning when everybody's filled in. So if cars shouldn't block the entrance into the primary parking lot, but lately they certainly have been, just like parked right in front of that. And so there's a huge lineup and people just can't get in to park there. There's a lot of empty spaces, but people can't get in to park there.
Are you talking about like before the line starts to move, like before 8 or 7:50 when people, okay. So like people who are lining up 7:50 or whatever and blocking that so that, okay.
Just block that. And I think we could either put cones up in the morning to just mark that off so that people can still get through. I think if with Miss Heather, one of the conversations that we had was just having everybody who comes off of Kipling, only those people go into primary, just like in the afternoon. I think it would really facilitate in moving things along in a timely manner.
Okay.
Not to make this longer, but I know we have a meeting in person back to school on the 27th. Miss Judy used to have a flat map and cars and would drive it around and show you where to go. And I feel like if we brought that back, I'd be happy to man the table and drive the cars around the map and show folks and let them ask questions. Because I feel like that That's the biggest challenge. Like
You just
people-
want to play with toy cars, Becky.
I want to bring cars, but I
It's
think
a complicated job.
yeah.
And,
Sounds like fun.
Okay.
and I'm happy to help. I ran on the
Veronica had a really
platform.
good idea today. She said that a couple years ago, several years ago, that Dr. Gary put out a communication, and he had pictures of what it was supposed to look like actual pictures with models, actors who were our students and parents, like demonstrating the different things. Mr. Todd and Ms. Heather also put together kind of an email to go out to parents. And then it's pretty text heavy. So Veronica made that suggestion of pictures to accompany it. And apparently it really worked that year when those visuals were there. So Heather went out and she's had some Google satellite, and then we were talking at Roundtable about adding some pictures to that email to help, with that visual.
Excellent.
Okay. So I know we haven't decided on a solution, but I'm going to let us kind of keep going.
Okay.
So we don't end up talking about Carline for now. Because
what I heard was that you guys are okay. The board is okay with a right turn only, but we need to have a sign. So that's going to take some time to get a sign made, that has no right turn or no left turn. And then I'll start looking into like what kind of timeline it's going to take to get all the pieces put together, and then let you guys know, and obviously communicate with families. Let's see. So our back to school night is going to be the parent information night. Will be September 8th. We're going to start off with a Montessori 101 for new families or those who want a refresher of what overview of Montessori, from 5:30 to 6:15 in the gym. And that's going to be led by 2 teachers from each level. And then I'll give just a quick welcome to kind of open the evening in the gym at 6:15, introduce specials teachers and other staff members who are not, posted up in a classroom, our learning specialists, our, Miss Tina, Miss Heather, some other staff members, and, Miss Beth. And then there will be 2 sessions that'll be identical. So there will be a 6:15 to 7 and 6:30 to 7:15, and then 7:15 to 8. So where families can go into the classrooms and hear from their child's teacher about that particular classroom. And then there will be after school activities. We'll have some tables of the board, PTA, that people can browse, sign up for committees and so forth. So that is pretty much my report. Any questions?
Sorry, I keep checking to see if I'm muted because I have a second computer screen so I can have extra documents and keep having to look over it. I just wanted to go back to the community comment because I feel like it kind of has to do with principal report and communications that we just talked about. And I just wanted to get a chance to say, as the board, for me personally, and I know other people might have other comments or thoughts, but is there anything else? I mean, when I think about it, I'm like, you've transitioned from a regular school to a charter school. You've transitioned from an assistant principal to a principal/administrator. You've transitioned from a traditional school setting to a Montessori school setting. That's a lot. And change in any way, shape, or form would be difficult. And now we've taken multiple changes and we put them all together. And I wanted to say from the board, from me personally, because I haven't really asked everybody, is there anything else that we can do to support joining the Montessori family? Or is there anything that you need from us as you continue to learn the Montessori world and our school culture? I think it's a lot quickly to take on, and we want to be supportive of you and we want you to be successful. We know how much our families value the communication, the notice, the process, just like they have it in the classroom for the kids. The families really like the school, I think, because they also mimic some of that process within their family units or their decision making. They really value those steps, and it's a new way of thinking sometimes. And I want you to be successful. I want us to be as supportive as possible. So I'm kind of leaving it open-minded and just kind of throwing that out there. When I hear the parent comment, those are the thoughts that come to my mind, but I want to let other people speak to it as well if they feel like they would like to.
Do you want me to respond right now, or?
I don't know if anybody else had something they wanted to say, but I just wanted to
Sure.
put that out there. I feel like it was a big community comment that you know,
I
I've heard from multiple places, and it was kind of all put together by this person.
I had a couple thoughts. First, I have heard from other parents who have been concerned about the pledge as well. I think there's not a level of comfort in coming forward and saying that among a lot of the community. Maybe that's part of our job as board members, is to kind of take that and communicate it back when parents don't feel comfortable raising that. I guess I would like to know maybe more about what we can do at this point to kind of further the communications among parents and families, and have, you know, more of a conversation with them about it. And so I'm open to that idea, and just want to know how we can support having that conversation.
So we didn't actually put an agenda item related to the Pledge of Allegiance, so I'm not going to go into that, but I just wanted to just say that we recognize that comment and the idea of opening up the communication, and some of the culture things that, you know, I saw in the principal's report anyway, related to back to school night, the parent engagement committee that we're putting together and things like that, and just kind of support it and just open that door for now. If we need to add it as an agenda item another time, if it still needs to be discussed, I think that we can. Does that sound okay, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if now is not the right time, that's fine. It just feels like it's a big enough issue that maybe we do need to have further discussion about it, and that's fine if it's later on.
Is it okay if I respond to a couple of the points?
Yeah, we just can't specifically sort of add an agenda item unless we to go through the process and the procedural process to do that if we decide to, but I
Okay,
just wanted to
whatever you
open up
decide.
the support and the piece of parent engagement to me related to the comment and the communication and the culture, and you had some of it in your report, so I just wanted to kind of second that and say that we are here for you as a board, and that's all I wanted to do with it. But if you would like to respond to that, I'm not going to say no.
Thank you. I've received three communications, 3 emails from parents who wanted to talk more about it or who had a disagreement about the pledge. I've had probably 8 or 9 who are very much in favor or very positive about it. And I've invited the 3 to come on in and we can talk more about it. Going back and forth, you know, in email can be challenging. And I always invite more. I would always rather prefer to talk in person, you know, than back and forth in email, especially when, you know, there's emotion involved. I did, and if this is, if I appreciate your support, I don't want to go on much longer, but I do have some other things that I could say about it. But if we want to talk about it later, we can certainly add it later.
So I know that kind of leaves it open-ended, but I also wanted to be able to say that we support you as a board.
Yeah.
So, and we'll just take it from there.
Okay, I will add that it is a state statute. And so we can certainly dive into that a little bit, and some of the background, and you know, I'm an open book. I'm happy to discuss my thinking, my logic, my thought process when I implemented it. You know, I did just come from a district school, but I've spent almost my entire career in charter schools. So I am much more personally, philosophically aligned with charter schools and the involvement and the level of involvement that parents have. And, you know, had there been a charter school when I was raising my children, I would have chosen a charter school.
If we're not going to discuss it tonight, I would like to make time in the next board session to have that conversation in depth,
Okay.
if we can.
Okay, sounds good. I will jot that down. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. We need to take some time to go over security arrangements for the school and for the safety of the school. We had talked about doing that in executive session. In order to get to executive session, we are going to need a motion and a vote.
I move to enter executive session to discuss safety and security, and then also the proposal of assistant salary increases. It's two separate executive sessions.
Yes, we're going to split the topics, but we can do it all in one.
Okay.
Per CRS, I'm just going to say it for you, Becky. Per CRS 24-6-4024D, security arrangements, and CRS 24-6-4024B, legal advice, because we are going to be discussing the legal advice given to us by our attorney.
A second. Roll call in the order of the attendance. So, Irene Mihawk,
Yes.
Becky Springstead, yes. Emily Slick,
Yes.
Adam Livingston,
Yes.
Justin Sasso,
Yes.
and Ashley. Let's see, wrong, Fainer. I'm gonna say it incorrectly. Can you hear me, Ashley?
Your audio is really quiet all of a sudden, Becky.
Ashley.
That's me. Yeah.
So that motion passes.
Great.
So for all those watching on the YouTube or the live stream, Adam, as far as I understand, you're going to pull us into a room so that we can do our executive session, and then we are going to return to this live stream when we're done. We will try and do what we need to do in a timely manner.
Great. Okay, we're live again on YouTube.
Okay. So we just exited executive session so that we could speak to the security arrangements and the legal advice that was given to us regarding the staff handbook. Welcome back, everybody. So with that, moving on to the next agenda item, the staff handbook. So we just exited executive session.
I move that we adopt changes to the MPA employee handbook to reflect changes to include clarifying language about that will make sure that the handbook is in full compliance with all statutory requirements. And in addition to the clarifying language, increase the number of personal sick leave days from 7 to 10 for staff, and then also increase the number of days that employees can roll over from 7 to 10.
A second.
And I guess a clarification that that will not be effective until these changes are formally made in the employee handbook, and then that is signed by all the staff.
I still second.
So Irene,
Yes.
Becky, yes. Emily,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
and Ashley, I believe, is required to abstain in this circumstance. So that is approved.
Thank you.
I just want to thank the board for their leadership and making this decision and helping us be more in line with other districts, and is going to really help a lot in retaining good employees. So thank you.
So with the handbook issue, we voted and approved the family handbook last spring. It may have been before you came on board, Anne. Has that gone out to families this year?
To my knowledge, yes. I know it's linked in when everyone registers and enrolls. Veronica's been giving them that link.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, since we were talking about handbooks.
Mm-hmm.
If a family cannot access that or find that, just contact the school or Veronica specifically, and that can be sent out. Number 7, architecture DCS next steps. We talked about the information regarding the shade structures already. In the packet, I emailed out a diagram that came from the architect to talk about the north building. There was a change in the upstairs where there would be a little bit less storage area, but it would also reduce the cost of the construction. There is another meeting with the architect tomorrow afternoon. Is that correct, Anne? Yes. I'm going to be there. Another board member can join us. I will send out updated information on costs, on any changes that the architect is recommending to the board as soon as that information is to us. But that is the best update that I have. I will be asking about timelines for construction if they have it as well, because I know we want things to get moving with that. With that information, when we last voted about the building and getting things moving, we made the vote to start the process with the construction in that building with the idea of getting homeschool in there as soon as possible. We never officially voted to move forward with the creation of the middle school. So if we are still wanting to go down that path, we need to make that decision final through a motion and a vote.
So it was my understanding that we were moving forward only with the final cost estimates on option 3, but that we hadn't approved construction on option 3. So there's still going to be a vote after receive the cost estimates from DCS to actually approve the construction, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But the reason I bring that up is if we decide that we want to go ahead with the formation of the middle school, obviously we need to get the cost for the building, but tangentially, like at the same time, we need to be forming the curriculum, talking about staff. What is it going to look like that first year? Because if we can get the building done, but we don't do the other piece, we'll have a building and no middle school. So we kind of have to be doing two things at once if we want the end timeline or August of 2023 for it to work out, for it all to start. Does that make sense?
It does, and I
So-
believe 2023 was the target date we had shared with our community last year as far as the targeted open. Is that
Yes, for 7th grade. So I just wanted to get board approval for the idea of working with a middle school committee. I know they had one in the past to get that process going sooner rather than later. If we end up with hiccups with a construction or we have to delay the opening or something, then the middle school committee can utilize that information in their planning. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I also know supply chain issues. So that's kind of where I'm trying to make sure we can get the different pieces of the puzzle, you know, at least constructed and made to fit together, with the hope that we can put them together. But if we don't construct all pieces of the puzzle, we're not going to have a full picture at the end. Is that, people have questions about that idea, that concern of mine?
Would this be a good time for Ashley to be able to present the staff feedback to the board question?
Yeah, we can, if people are okay with it, we'll jump forward to kind of that staff issue under number 10. So that Ashley can update us because it directly relates to that idea.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. So what we looked at were the staff survey results from the board question, which was construction is set to begin on our middle school this fall, and our homeschoolers will be moving into the building in January. It's been a long process, but we're on our way to becoming a pre-K 8. How are you feeling about the middle school overall right now? And what feedback do you have regarding it going forward? What would you like us to know or think about? So at Roundtable, I filled in for ECAT because she was not able to attend. So we went over the results, and then between me and Anne, we took notes, kind of hitting the highlights, and particularly things that we were hearing multiple times. So I'm going to kind of toggle between our two notes here. The first thing that came up were a few people who were cautiously optimistic. We had a few that were kind of like, this will be great if it works. I hope this works. Kind of in that vein. There were not, I didn't see anything drastically like, heck no. But there were some that were just sort of couched a little bit in a, well, tell me more. We need more information. Staffing was a major concern. And I had some voice on this too. I talked to Anne this afternoon about the timeline that we did a year ago, June or July, and had some concerns about the timeline. I only mention that because it does tie in with comments about staffing, getting a consultant, and developing curriculum. So making sure that timeline is feasible. And that, yeah, the consultant thing came up pretty quickly. Anne and I also talked about how soon you hire someone. And do we have a plan for that? Or even like a search committee or something like that. Wanting to know what the programming and the curriculum look like. This is another area where we just don't want to be flying by the seat of our pants. We need to get something, people in line, curriculum ideas in line, and working with people that are, you know, AMI, AMS affiliated, so we can construct this. Your upper L leads do have a lot of general philosophy and background, and we do have some staff members who have some experience with farm school or kinder. I highly recommend that we tap those people as well because they're right here. Making sure that our community needs are understood, that this is a Montessori philosophy as opposed to just another middle school. We talked about the declining rates in Jeffco and the potential for us to absorb some of that. But then the discussion came up, and Ann and I were talking about this. Do you take in non-Montessori kids at a middle school level? So that's just a thought, something to think about. Talking about collaboration with homeschool, so they're not just two separate entities in the building. What can they do to support each other? How could that first class of middle schoolers work toward that? Just kind of your first step toward a mini community at that site, and that can grow. Making sure we maintain the uniqueness of Montessori and how we've already started it. Making sure that we are not overcommitting existing staff, especially specials. That should be a whole separate conversation down the road, but I don't want to scare specials teachers like, yeah, and then maybe they could pick up some of it. That needs to be really laid out. And Sam was in the meeting, so let's see. Yep, we talked about that. Yep, we want children are enrolling here because of Montessori, not because they don't want to go to another middle school. And some of the consolidations of schools, I don't know what that will look like for next year, because they've got 5 or 6 on the block for next fall. Some stuff keeps changing, but that was the last I had heard. Let's see. And we were toying around with some phrasing. We don't want to open a Montessori school, or excuse me, a middle school just to open a middle school. We don't want it half bleep. But then we came up with, Melissa said, Montesorta. So we don't want Montesorta, we want Montessori. So that came from her. Anne, am I missing any other key pieces here?
No, I think you covered quite a bit of it. The overarching theme really is that yes, but that there is a real need to get moving on this very quickly, to get a program director or the consultant going to get these things in place, because hiring, generally what happens, I've known people who've taken positions when new charter schools have started, and they're hired a year ahead of time so that they can do all of their hiring, get their programming, get their teams, set the structures and the systems of what it looks like. So parents start making their choices for school in December, January. And so I think we need to, the overarching theme is we need to really get moving quickly in order to be open for next fall.
Yeah, that was a key piece, because choice enrollment comes fast. And the idea, especially here existing, like my 5th grade families, I need something soon so that I can sell it. And because I need to be able to, in good conscience, be able to say, yeah, this is rolling. We've got these pieces in place. So it comes up, it sneaks up on you really fast. And I want to be able to say, yes, don't worry, we will have it. Otherwise, you're going to have people trying to get into multiple places. And then if we're still on the fence or anything's getting delayed, we could lose those families pretty quickly, just so that they know where they're going. So we just don't want that kind of mess going on.
So is today's goal just to agree that we're going to pursue the committee, and then the committee would take all of that feedback that you've shared, Ashley, from the teachers, and account for that? I know we did have, when we first started this conversation, I may be one of the few that was here when we had the conversation, but we did have a Montessori trained representative identified as a consultant. So I'm hoping that we can just reopen those channels and we don't have to start from scratch on a middle school consultant.
So I spoke with
able
Beth
to
for
work with that.
I spoke with Beth for about 2 minutes this afternoon, and I'm going to follow up with her in the morning. She, I think, still has that relationship and the ability to pull that same person back in if the board is okay with getting that moving ASAP.
That would, is that
The committee
probably
going.
Pat Howard? The
Yeah.
one that
I
we
did
met
not
with
get the
last
name.
summer. Yeah, okay.
So are we okay with that committee sort of getting formed and getting going and her reaching out? to the
Absolutely.
consultant?
How are we doing that? How are we pulling that together?
I'm gonna touch base with Beth tomorrow morning, just me and her. Just to see, where we're at, and then we need to pull it together and get moving. She and I are both on the same page that we have to get moving if we're gonna do this. And that's sort of where the conversation got left.
Gotcha.
It was pickup time. So we're gonna have.
Do we want to put this on the calendar as like a September formation or October formation of this
An
committee?
August formation of,
Yeah.
I mean, this
August.
has to get moving fast if it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
ASAP.
Because we'll need to have a very firm yay or nay for families at choice enrollment in January.
Yeah.
So if we
Yeah.
can't pull it together by January, then we unfortunately would have to not offer the choice enrollment for you.
I'll give the board an update once I understand a little bit more, and we see if this can be pulled together quickly. I know that there should be enough interest. It's just a matter of making it happen. So
Yeah, even if you can get, like, sometimes with our team, well, like today, I filled in for ECAT, and if people are comfortable with that, you could have a couple of people, your main person, somebody who's a backup that comes in so the conversation doesn't stop or something gets, put on hold because somebody can't be there.
yeah, so if you guys are okay, maybe I don't need a vote or a motion or anything, but just getting that committee going ASAP and getting numbers back to the board for review as soon as we have more numbers from the construction. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, so with that, number 8, student fees. So I was not on the board at this time last year. Jen wasn't here. She told me that her understanding is she needs board approval for the student fees to officially be posted and have families finish that through that registration kind of portal. She at this point was not looking to change too much unless we feel like there should be an increase from last year. I have the totals from last year. They're still listed on the website for our school. The only thing she did tell me is that because I have the breakdown from 2 years ago, there is nothing currently listed for phys ed, and Mr. Sam would like to update some of the materials. So I would love to be able to add, even if it's just a small amount. Music has 15, art has 15 for each student, except for third graders is a little higher for music. And my understanding that has to do with the recorder unit. So if we would like to get that approved, he didn't give her an amount that he needs. I don't want to go too high. I know things are tight for a lot of families, but I also don't want to go at 0 for that line item for him. So
Do we have an idea of what specifically, is there something that he has in mind that he's working towards, or would it just be to help slowly over time replace pieces?
replace and update is my understanding of what I was told.
Okay.
So we need to.
And overall, within our budget, we were not planning for an increase for this year, correct? Not that I recall.
Not that I was made aware of.
Okay.
So my recommendation at this point would be to at least put $10 for those that are in gym. And I cannot remember if kindergartners go once or twice a week, but if they go once a week, maybe their number would be half, because they spend half as much time in the gym. I think that would be reasonable and responsible on our part to include, and then the fees would go up by that amount compared to last year.
I think it makes sense. And I was asking about the increase on the other fees, the instructional fees and things, if we had budgeted for that. But I know that the the gym fee would be separate.
I mean, part of me said everything costs more. Do we need to increase it by 5%? But I don't have specific numbers, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. other than knowing what the fees were last year, and I can quote it by grade level, but if we want to just keep it status quo and just add a little bit for PE, then if we added $10 for PE, except for kindergarten, it would be $5, then that's the amount that the fees would go up from last year. Preschool would be the same.
Yeah, I would be curious, because once we set the rate, we can't change it for the year. It's kind of a one-time thing.
It's like a registration fee.
Yeah,
We have not
I don't
launched
want
yet.
I don't want to delay, because I know families are looking to pay those fees and have budgeted for it now, but I think it would be a good line item to add for next year, Justin, probably towards like May, so we can think about it early, to look at our fees as compared to the rest of Jefferson County, and then keeping in mind our Montessori materials, and try to see if we should make an adjustment for next year.
When would you want to look at those fees again?
I'm thinking May.
May.
Just add it as a.
With all the transitions in the administration, the requests from teachers on what they need, I think didn't happen in the same timeline, and we're running really late on this. So if people feel comfortable at this point, because we have not been able to do those comparisons, just making those changes, we need to approve it as a board.
So I'd like, unless there was other feedback, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step in. Was there any other thoughts before I make a motion? Stop it.
I think you're good.
Okay, so I would like to motion that we add a $10 fee for 1st through 6th grade for PE, and a $5 fee increase for kindergartners for PE, and then to approve the rest of the fees as they were last year.
Can I second? I have no idea. I don't think so.
I second.
All right, and then let me grab my vote again here quickly. Okay.
I can't hear you, but yes.
Mhm.
Can I clarify? So art is 15, is that right? And music is 15 plus for recorders. Why is PE lower?
I mean, the reality is that I don't want to go up too high on families all of a sudden. I want to respect Mr. Sam's request, but I also was not given an amount or an item. I know that it has to do with replacing and updating materials. So I'm trying to find a balance between the two.
I mean, do we want to wait and just hear from him just to make sure we're in the right area? I know that would be a secondary vote. Just not knowing what he had in mind.
We would have
It-
it would have to be via email because it needs to get done really quickly.
Yeah.
I would also submit that these have been requested. I mean, this is we're second week of school, and these fees have been requested.
So can we set a quick board meeting for tomorrow and I'll get on and vote for one thing, Ari, or?
I don't have the information from Jen. I mean, I don't have the information from Sam. She's dropping her son off at college, Jen is. So I'm kind of stuck. Unless Anne knows other information that I don't.
No, just that this is information that's been asked for of all teachers.
Yeah. I know we've had it outstanding with our families for a while, and without having a set piece of equipment or something targeted for those dollars, I too struggle with making a big jump for families all at once. But I also, if others on the board feel that we need to delay another day, I would feel comfortable supporting that if there's value.
Honestly, if it's just $10, I feel like hopefully that's not too big of a jump. Yeah, I'm on board for $10 if that's all it is.
Well, I think that the concern is the disparity. So my motion was to approve 10. There is concern about a disparity between 10 and 15. And so we can approve the 10 if folks feel comfortable, we can put that to a vote, or if we feel that we need additional time and additional information from Mr. Sam, we can table the vote and try to determine if 15 is.
I mean, if it's 15 for the whole year, like that also is not, I mean, I'm in at 15 also. If I'm in for 10, I'm in for 15. If it means that we if it's for the whole year and if it's for a good cause, I'm in.
Do we feel like that represents the school at large would be?
It's just, it would make it equitable among specials. I think that's the piece is, are we trying to quantify how much they need, or is it better to just do across the board? And then maybe next year we could make a point of meeting with them or somehow getting specifics ahead of time, like at the end of the summer. And then you wouldn't have to worry about it so much.
Yeah, that's why we put it down for May.
Yeah.
I'm okay either way. I feel like if we table this for later, it's not fair to the
It
family.
may not happen. Yeah, I would feel comfortable as well. I just want to make sure we're, thinking about all of the families, which I feel like you're trying to bring to attention, Irit, but I do think that, equity among the
I see
specialists.
both sides.
And is important as well. So I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts. Otherwise, I feel comfortable revising my motion.
I'd love to see it even across the board at 15, unless someone feels like that's overshooting. Like Adam said, are you in for 10? Are you in for 15?
Right.
It's Starbucks.
Fee. Okay, then I will revise my motions. I'd like to motion instead that we pursue a $15 fee increase for PE, a half that increase of $7.50 for kindergarten, and a overall approval of all other fees as outlined in our current fee schedule.
Still second.
Irit.
Sorry, I turned off my mic too early. Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Becky, yes. Adam?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
And Ashley.
Yes.
So that motion passes to the next.
Okay. So moving on to committee reports. For finance, I sent out the budgets. There wasn't anything that stuck out to me. I don't have a detailed report from Brittany or from Jen other than that. So I'm just going to leave it with the information you guys were given and move on to marketing.
Really quick, did we need to vote for the middle school committee? Did I miss that, the reformation of the committee, or?
So because it's not financial and it's more gathering information and getting things going, I don't think at this point we need to vote for a committee formation. As soon as we get more numbers and we officially make it so the building is getting targeted at middle school, we need to vote.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so marketing committee.
Becky, I'll take lead on this. We are hoping to put a meeting together after Labor Day with the marketing committee. That'll be our first of this year to kind of put an agenda and some goals together for the rest of the calendar year, school year. And then, yeah, there's board of director pictures I think are still wanted by Anne. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to submit those for the website. And that's about it, unless I missed something, Becky.
I'm going to take SAC. I know Emily is going to step in for that. There has not been a meeting yet. So as soon as there's a meeting, I'm just going to pass it on to you. But at this point, there's nothing new to report. Grievance committee, we do not have anything new to report either. So that's good news. Monthly meeting attendance and updates. Staff, Ashley, I just jumped you up to earlier, if that's okay, unless there was something else. PTA, Becky.
So I apologize, I was not aware of the meeting in early August, so I don't have anything to report from that meeting, but I will circle back with the PTA and provide a double update for last month and this month on our next meeting in September.
Okay. JCSC, Adam, is there anything new to report?
Yeah, I was not present at any meetings. I don't know.
Brittany said it would probably get going after the school year got going, so you probably
Right.
didn't miss anything. That's what I remember her saying. Sorry, I'm trying to get us wrapped up
Great.
without missing anything. Board calendar, Justin, I think we covered everything because we had spoken on the phone to make sure there weren't any misses. Is there
Yeah,
anything
I can throw it up on the screen if you want. I don't know if you could see that.
Yeah,
Okay, great. So the only thing, let's see, just running through here. The confirm where the minutes will be posted each year and document in the minutes.
so at this point, Heather and I are working on cleaning up the website, and unless there are objections from people on the board, we would like to post a year's worth of minutes there. And then obviously we keep them. The board has copies of them in the board files further back.
Okay. Do we want to mark that as complete since that's the direction we're taking, or do we want to still put that as a in process?
It's not done yet. It's quite a process to clean up the website. But the notes or the meeting minutes as approved are always available if somebody should request them.
Okay. I marked the school staff publishes, distributes MPA student parent handbook, employee guidelines, and general information handbook as complete. Do we feel that is accurate?
Based on Anne's report, yes.
Good, okay. Staff breakfast was hosted, appoint a SAC chairperson. That is complete. Beth is, have Beth Emily attending as board representative.
Beth is gonna stay the chairperson. Emily's gonna attend.
Okay, great. So that's complete. Appoint committee members. I think we're kind of zipping through that tonight. Are we gonna, do we want to move that to September or?
Yeah, can you move that to September for us to touch base on if needed? Yeah, we'll circle back.
Okay, we'll address it September. Let's see. Back to school night we discussed is set for August or September 8th. Details to be determined at the August meeting or to determine B. Or we just want to mark that as complete now, or oh, the request on this one was whether we wanted to have a booth for the board, a booth at that back to school night. I guess that was a question we wanted to leave with Anne.
During her update, I believe she had indicated that we could have a booth, so I would say that would be a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Okay, so we probably need to create just a calendar to who would take lead on that to make sure we have a booth set up. It's got us added. Just kind of orchestrate that.
I see Becky's hand, which I really appreciate.
Thank you, Becky. All right, so I'll add an additional calendar note to this. Becky is kind of orchestrating board booth. Great.
And the next one talks about formation of the middle school committee. Like I said, I'm meeting with Beth tomorrow and we'll figure out best ways to go about that, and we will send out communication. Promise.
Great. I just added that one tonight too, so we'll just monitor that and
Okay.
and get it done. So let's see. I think
Next board meeting will be virtual.
virtual September 20th.
Okay.
Changes. I also added changes to the parking lot structure that I don't know, Becky, you can correct me if that's not needed here, but that Ann's getting pricing and timeline for changes on that. So
I don't know that it's a calendar item, but it's in my notes to put it on the board meeting for next time.
okay, great.
And-
If it's in your notes, I make it go away. And then the only thing jumping way down to May is the review student fees and set adjustments. I put that under operations principal. Let me know if that needs to be different. And
Okay.
I'll leave as is. That's all I have for the calendar, unless there was something else you had.
Nope. I'm going to move to approve consent agenda. Becky sent out the July 8th board meeting minutes so that we had a chance to look at them before the meeting. I didn't know if anybody had any comments or concerns, or if people are ready to move that to a vote. If there are no concerns or corrections, I'm going to let that move ahead. I can't hear you guys.
I motion that we approve the July 8th general board meeting minutes.
A second.
Irene,
Yes.
Becky, yes. Emily,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
Yes.
okay, the minutes are approved.
One quick thing that we already talked about earlier. Emily, I'm going to let you talk about this.
Okay.
Just a quick adjustment to the motion. as
Yes,
stated.
I realized that when we adopted the handbook changes, we didn't add or we didn't clarify what the carrying for. We decided that we would allow 10 days. We would increase the personal sick leave from 7 to 10 days. We would also allow employees to carry forward 10 days. But I realized that there's another component to allowing employees to carry forward 10 days, which is the previous handbook said employees may only use 14 days during one school year. I don't think it was our intention to allow employees to use more than 14 days per school year, even in carrying forward the 10 days. My thought was maybe the way to clarify this is just to clarify employees can carry over whatever balance will get them to 14 days total, and that they could take those 14 days in the school year. So then you don't end up in a situation where employees are accruing 10 days, 10 days, 10 days, 10 days, but then they can't ever use all of that time. So I think that that would be more straightforward. So I guess my motion would be to amend our previous motion to state that the employee handbook will say employees may carry forward a number of unused personal and sick days sufficient to give them a total of 14 days during the next school year. And then up to 14 days may be used during 1 year. I think that's consistent with the current policy and what we discussed.
I'll second. I don't know. So this would be a revision to motion number 2 that was approved
Yes.
this evening. And I will walk through the votes again so that everyone can vote on the revision to motion 2. So Irene.
Yes.
Becky, yes. Emily,
Yes.
Adam,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
and then Ashley will again abstain. All right, so motion 2 passes with the revised language.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, everybody. I know it was a long evening. There's a lot of stuff as the school year begins. I wanted to make sure we get a chance to thank the teachers for everything that they have done to get this school year going, to be prepared for the students, to welcome them with open arms, to have an outlook for a different year than we've had in the past, not starting with masks in the classrooms. So a huge thank you to the teachers, to the assistants, to the staff around the school, in the office, every part of that building. People are working really hard, and the students, when I help at Carline and I open the door, they are excited to go in. So I just wanted to make sure I said thank you to everybody for all the hard work that has been done. And if there isn't anything else,
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
read the that other proposal that I had that we didn't get a chance to discuss.
no, I think that we have to finalize. I have to talk to Jen about that. The payout kind of issue. My understanding is that it's not, we just have to make sure that all the budget stuff is understood, and I have to pass it on to the board in the right way.
Okay.
I feel more confident if she was here to talk through that a little bit.
Mhm.
Or Brittany was here from finance committee to help us with that. I'm not saying no, I'm just kind of tabling it a little bit.
Okay.
We have the right finance people here to help us talk through that.
Okay.
That said, then I will motion to adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Good job, Reed. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Night.